Do you like Yu-Gi-Oh? Do you like progression-like content? Do you like to watch people suffer? Then you've come to the right place. I, Thundernumel, invite you to join me in a little adventure called Yu-Gi-Oh! Depression Series. We will start by opening one virtual booster box of Legend of Blue Eyes and we'll make a deck that we will pit against ranked opponents on Dueling Book. Based on our performance every week, we will get a different amount of points that we will be able to use to unlock new official Yu-Gi-Oh! Products in chronological order, or buy more of the products that we already unlocked. Let's suffer together by using unplayable garbage cards and try to climb the Dueling Book ladder. Hello everyone and welcome, my name is Thundernumel and I welcome you to another episode of Depression Series. Last week we made amazing progress and I'm so happy about it. Since I didn't expect that to happen, I saved up 38 points for this episode. So now we have way more than enough to finally unlock Metal Raiders. But before we get into that, let's get into the point breakdown for this week. In the previous episodes of this series, we managed to destroy 14 monsters, which equals 1 point. We also dealt 6,700 damage, which unfortunately equals 0 points, but we won 2 games, which equals another 20. We also carried over 38 points, and we got 60 likes on episodes in this series, which equals another 6. This brings our point total for this week to a whopping 65, which is an 85 if we count the free 20 points that we get at the beginning of each episode. With our 85 points, I'm thinking we should unlock Metal Raiders and buy a booster box of it. But firstly, let's spin the Depression Wheel! Oh wow, that opening really went from 1 to 100 in a second. I'm really excited to see what Metal Raider has in store for us. But before we unlock that, let's see what we are hoping to pull. Let's get into the Metal Raider set review. Metal Raiders was introduced into the TCG in 2002, and it's a combination of Japanese sets, Revival of Black Demon's Dragon, and Metal Raiders. It's the largest non-reprint set up to date with a whopping 144 card pool. It is also worth noting that it's a first TCG set to include counter traps such as Magic Jammer, Solemn Judgment, 7 Tools of the Bandit and the Horn of Heaven. Our challenge goal for the next set, Magic Ruler, will be to pull 4 different foil spell cards out of LOP and MRD. So we are hoping to pull Heavy Storm and Change of Heart, even though we can't use them, and a Tribute to the Doomed to pair out with Swords of Revealing Light and Raigeki that we got from LOB. This set can really spice up our beaters, as it is home to Jirai Gumo, Dark Elf and the 7 Colored Fish. It also has way better effect monsters such as Magician of Faith, Mask of Darkness, White Magical Hats, Masked Sorcerer and the Unhappy Maiden. Oh, and also the tribute summonable Barrel Dragon. Some spells we might be able to use would be Paralyzing Potion, Share the Pain and Stimpack. Without further ado, let's open our first ever box of Metal Raiders and see what we can pull. What a fantastic opening that was, guys. Before we get into the deck profile, let's get into the viewer replay section of this week. Our viewer game is from the same person as last week's episode, so if you guys are interested, please do send me your replays and you might get featured in the next one. Our viewer is playing a similar deck to last episode, but he has also included some of the newer cards that he probably got of the Wheel of Depression section, and his opponent is playing Dark Magician. His opponent activates Soul Servant, using its effect to stack a Magician's Rod on top of his deck. Then he will just set double back row and pass the turn. Our viewer here normal summons Guard Ghosts and declares a direct attack. He will set double back row as well and pass it back. The Dark Magician player normal summons Magician's Rod, and then using the effect of Rod he will add Magical Circle to his hand. Then he will excavate 3 cards and add one of them to his hand. Now here he adds Magician's Souls, which is an illegal target considering the fact that Magical Circle can only add spell or trap cards that list Dark Magician or Dark Magician itself. But the problem here arises where he didn't reveal the cards before adding it to his hand. So our viewer here requests to see the logs. This is where it gets spicy because the Dark Magician player just refuses to reveal the logs, so a judge is called here. Now look who it is, it's Distant Coder. Now Distant Coder here realizes that the Magician's Souls is an illegal add off of the Dark Magical Circle, so he forces him to add a Dark Magician to his hand. He will then ask them to resume the game, and our viewer here normal summons Black Brachios. He will then declare an attack with Guard Ghost, which is met by Storming Mirror Force, so both of his monsters go back into his hand. The Dark Magician player normal summons Alistair the Invoker, and then using the effect of Alistair he will add an invocation to his hand. He will then link summon into the Artemis, and then link summon with Artemis and the Magician's Rod into a Verte Anaconda. Then he will use the effect of invocation, fusion summoning into a Caliga. Now this is an important point in this duel because the effect of Caliga reads that each player can only attempt to activate one monster's effect per turn and can only attack with one monster during the battle phase. So he will then use the effect of invocation, adding it back to his deck, and he will add Alistair back to his hand. Then he will use the effect of Verte, paying 2000 life points, sending Red Eyes Fusion, Dark Magician, and Red Eyes Black Dragon to fusion summon into a Dragoon. He will then proceed to attack directly with Dragoon and pass his turn. Our viewer here normal summons the Guard Ghost yet again and attacks into the Verte Anaconda. Then he will pass the turn. Now look at what the Dark Magician player does here. So he normal summons Alistair, uses the effect of Alistair, and adds the invocation to his hand. Now due to the effect of Caliga, this is the only effect he can activate during this turn. So he will use the invocation, fusion summon into a Mechaba, use the invocation to get the Alistair back, and the problem here would be that he could only link away the Caliga and he could use the effect of Dragoon to negate, but I do think that he forgets to do that. So he will declare an attack with Dragoon and then he will quit the duel because our viewer here asks him if it's okay to proceed to the damage step. He says no, and then he just quits. And what our viewer could have done here is activate Tie Strike, which reads: during damage calculation, if your monster battles an opponent's monster, your battling monster's attack becomes that opponent's monster's attack. During the damage calculation only. Also, the controller of any monster destroyed by battle takes damage equals to its original attack. So what would have happened here is Guard Ghost would become 3000, so it would crash with Dragoon, and then Dragoon would get destroyed, and the Dark Magician player would take 3000 damage, meaning that the Dark Magician player lost the game. He couldn't negate the Tie Strike with Dragoon because he already used one effect during this turn, and if he just linked away the Caliga, he wouldn't have lost this game. So another fantastic replay this week. These replays are super fun to watch, so if you guys make any, please do send them to me. Without further ado, let's get into the deck profile for this week. Wow, guys, this week's opening was insane. More than half of our deck has changed. We are running one Dark Elf. It's a 2000 attack beater, but it requires 1000 life points to declare an attack. We also pulled up Pancratops. This is amazing. It's a free special summon and it also can pop a card on the field as a quick effect. And it's also at 1, so we only need one. We are also running one Phaedron, the Winds of Mischief. It's basically, we use it as a 1700 attack beater, but it also has a quick effect where it can change a monster on the field to defense, so that's kinda neat. We are running one Guard Ghost. It's a beater, a Jirai Gumo, another one, then a double Magician of Faith. We could use this to recur our spells, and we have some pretty powerful ones, so I'm hoping this can be useful. A Jaguar, which is an 1800 attack beater, which also has piercing. We have a Witch of the Black Forest, which can search most of our monsters, and honestly it can search Pancratops, so I'm so happy with that. We have a double 7 colored fish, and the other guys here are from the previous episode. We pulled double Share the Pains, so that's our new removal card, and we also have Concentrating Current. This card's effect reads: you can target one face-up monster you control, it gains attack equal to its current defense until the end of this turn. Now honestly, we don't really have monsters with great defense points, but it's an attack boost on a quick play spell, so we definitely can use this one. We have also triple Steam Pack, which increases the monster's attack power by 700, and following that with an Armory Call, which can equip an equip spell to a monster we control. We are also running a Head Judging, which is a Duel Links staple card. Well, it used to be, and it can negate some monster effects, which is what our deck is severely lacking. And we also pulled 7 Tools of the Bandit, so that's fantastic if we run into some traps. Guys, if you enjoyed the episode so far, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel, because it really helps out a lot. Without further ado, let's get into our 5 games of the week. Our first game of the week is up against Invoked Shadows, and I opted to go first for this one. I'll open up by normal summoning Guard Ghost and setting a trap hole and passing. Our opponent activates Magical Meltdown, we let it resolve, he adds Alistair, then he normal summons the Alistair. I choose to activate Trap Hole here because he probably doesn't have any other normal summons, and if he doesn't have a light monster in hand, he cannot go into a Mechaba. Alistair resolves, adding the invocation, then he will use the invocation, fusion summoning into a Purgatrio by using Ash Blossom in his hand and Alistair in his graveyard, and he will use the effect of invocation, putting it back into his deck and putting the Alistair back into his hand. Then he will attack with his Purgatrio, destroying our Guard Ghost, setting double back row and passing. We activate Fisher here, destroying the Purgatrio, and we normal summon the 7 colored fish to attack for some damage. We pass the turn, he normal summons Alistair again, adding the invocation, then he will link summon into Almirage and then into Secure Gardener. He will follow that up by activating Shadow Fusion, fusion summoning into a Winda by using double Shadows from his hand. He will then use the effect of Squamata, I think, yep, to send a Beast and then draw a card off of Beast. He will then use the invocation, fusion summoning Secure Gardener from his field and Alistair from his graveyard into a Mechaba. He will use the effect of invocation to take back the Alistair into his hand. He will then go into the battle phase, destroying our fish and attacking directly with Mechaba. For turn we draw a Reinforcement, which is not really great, so we just set a Hein, Reinforcement and pass. He will then proceed to attack with his Mechaba into our Hein. We use the effect of Hein, and we are bouncing back the Winda. So yeah, for anyone who's wondering how to out Winda, just run Hein forehead. He will set his Aerial, and then he will pass the turn. For turn we draw into a Soul Exchange, we normal summon the fish and pass the turn. He will then declare an attack with his Mechaba. We don't respond to this, so we just lose our fish. And then we draw a Dark Magician for the first time ever, but it's too late because we can't do anything with it. So he will just attack with his Shadow and a Mechaba, and we lose the first game of the week. Our second game is up against Gravekeepers, and we are going first again. Now at this point I don't know what my opponent is playing, but since my hand is the way it is, I just set Fall of Illusion and pass. He activates Necro Valley's Throne and use the effect of Necro Valley's Throne to add a Commandant, then he will discard the Commandant to activate Necro Valley from his deck. Then he will normal summon Spiritualist, setting double back row and attacking into our Wall of Illusion. However, the Wall of Illusion effect will activate, bouncing back the Spiritualist to his hand. His back row is Imperial Tombs and Heavy Storm Duster, but it's not really useful in this scenario, so we just, with no monsters on the field, normal summon Gokiri Scorpio and declare a direct attack, saving Steam Pack for later. For turn he draws a Cosmic Cyclone and normal summon the Spiritualist. We just draw Dark Elf for turn and normal summon it, attacking into Spiritualist with Goki, destroying it and then declaring a direct attack with Dark Elf. Our opponent has no monsters and for turn he draws into Twin Twisters. He will proceed to activate Card of Demise, drawing double traps, and with no monsters to speak of, he will concede, so we take the second game. And it's fair and square, guys. Let's go to game 3. Our game 3 is up against Pendulum. And honestly, I'm feeling like we are playing an anti-meta deck at this point, because we are doing really well against these anti-meta decks. However, Pendulum is best deck, so I don't think we can win this. So we're going second, and our opponent activates Foolish Burial, sending Dark Worm. Then he will use the effect of Dark Worm, special summoning it, and then use the effect again to search for a Gate 0. He will then normal summon the Tuning Magician and go into Needle Fiber, using the effect of Needle Fiber to special summon another one from his deck. He will then activate the Double Scales, Chronograph, and the Gate 0 and go into Selene. He will get 3 counters on Selene, special summoning back the Tuning Magician from his graveyard by using the effect of Selene, and then going into Appaloosa. He will then Pendulum summon 3, and then using the effects of Harmonizing Magician, he will special summon the Oath Dragon from his deck. He will then attempt to illegally summon Borreload here, but he cannot do that due to the effect of Harmonizing Magician. So, yeah, let's just resolve that real quick. Yeah. Okay, so he will now activate the effect of Tuning Magician in his graveyard, special summoning it. At this point we realize that we didn't keep track of the normal special summon clause on the Tuning Magician, so we just fix that real quick. So I gain 800 life points. He loses the same amount, and then he will go into Odd-Eyes Meteor Burst Dragon, and then he said that he effed up the combo so bad and that he's very sorry, and then he conceded. So, yep, another win. Let's go! Best deck, baby! Our fourth game of the week is up against Amazements, and it's a grindy deck that has a lot more advantage cards than we do. We open up by setting a Man-Eater, Bug, and passing. He will activate Pot of Extravagance, banishing 6, and then drawing 2 cards. Then he will normal summon the Comica. Using the effect of Comica, he will set a Horror House to his field. He will then attack with his Comica, will use the effect of Man-Eater to destroy it. He will proceed to set another 4 back row and pass his turn. Will normal summon a Dark Elf. He will activate the Roller Coaster, the Cyclocoaster, then he will add Arlecchino to his hand. Then he will activate the Rapid Racing, and using the effect of Arlecchino, he will special summon it. He will then proceed to battle phase, attacking into our Dark Elf, and he will set another double back row. For the turn we set a Hain, then we use the effect of Share the Pain to tribute the Hain to make him tribute his Arlecchino, but we activate Share the Pain in the same column as Broken Line. This is literally the only column we shouldn't have activated in, but we didn't know. So he will chain the Broken Line, negating the Share the Pain, will set another back row, and then we'll pass the turn. He will activate another Extravagance, drawing another 2 cards. Then he will use the effect of Arlecchino, banishing his trap to try and pop our Armory Call. We'll just chain it to add a Stim Pack from the deck to our hand. But the Stim Pack isn't looking really great at this point. He'll set another back row and pass. For turn we draw Samurai Skull. Now even with the Stim Pack he can't get over the Arlecchino, so I'll try set the Magician of Faith, and a bluff back row he'll use the Cyclo Coaster. Using the effect of Cyclo Coaster he will destroy our Stim Pack. Then on his turn he will use the effect of Arlecchino to destroy Magician of Faith. He will then proceed to attack us directly and set another back row and pass. We just summon the Samurai Skull, hoping that he will remove it with a card effect. But then he will just activate Horror House, special summon another Arlecchino and attack us for game. So the fourth game of the week is a loss, unfortunately. Our final game of the week is up against Invoke, Dogmatica, Amazement, something, and we'll be going first. We'll just set a Hain and pass the turn. Our opponent for turn draws into Ecclesia and he decides to concede instantly. He was so afraid of the Hain set that he decided, nope, Alistair isn't good enough, Meltdown isn't good enough, Double Ecclesia isn't good enough, Superior Order isn't good enough. Nothing, literally nothing is good enough against that set Hain pass. And 5 people, if you can believe it, conceded during the rock paper scissors during the making of this week's episode, and I literally have no time to play another game right now, so this'll have to do. Hello, it is a Pot of Greed. What you do? Not important, I'm definitely not a Western spy. I really enjoyed this week's episode, so I'm definitely gonna like and subscribe to the channel. Oh wait, I already did. I have an announcement for you, comrade. Thundernumel is doing 100 subscriber special. It'll be a new series and it's gonna be really fun, so stay tuned for that. I have been Pot of Greed. Don't do drugs. Goodbye.